Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of AI News, Updates, and Drama. And we've got a lot to talk about, surprisingly, even though it's only been a couple of days. First thing I'm going to talk about very briefly is just Meta failing hard, and literally nobody but Mark Zuckerberg is surprised. And while this doesn't have a ton to do with AI, it's part of that VR landscape, so I am kind of keeping an eye on this story. But in terms of actual AI, let's talk about Stable Diffusion. Hugging Face just recently announced 1 million downloads of the Stable Diffusion models. And that's huge for both Runway and for Stability AI. That's a ton of people out there in the AI landscape who are now able to generate models. And as we look at the Twitter posts for Stability's news and updates and all that stuff, we're seeing some hints now of a big announcement coming. While that might sound exciting, what it looks like to me, at least from this end, is that they're setting up a group of people to determine what is morally right. Whether or not you agree with that, this is what is being described as a democratic process, despite the fact that you're not voting. But why, you ask? Why, Frank the Tank? Why would we need to change these models? They're not dangerous in literally any capacity. You might remember in my previous videos, I pointed to political fear-mongering. So we're going to talk about Representative Ashu from California, who is out here claiming that we're creating Asian hate with some of these models. Putting aside that very rarely is a politician making any kind of actual opinion, and this is literally just money influencing what's being said, this whole letter is written by someone who's never used any of this technology, you can tell. Obviously, if you generate an image of someone being hurt, nobody actually gets hurt. And that's where there's a little bit of a misunderstanding, I think, going on here. And actually, I think the word misunderstanding is really generous, considering how many different image models there are out there, how many are based on the same Lion database, and how very few of them are ones that you have access to. It seems odd that this is extremely targeted towards Stability's model, for no particular reason. Right? If this representative was at all concerned about violence, nudity, things like that, they should be attacking the Lion database where these images are actually kept. Diffusion-based models don't actually hold on to any of these images, just the concepts that they've learned from those images. Attempting to censor the violence and sexuality that is essentially humanity is going to be pretty impossible. But these questions have very easy answers. These questions are very rhetorical. It only took me a few clicks to see that this woman leads the AI caucus, and if you look at who comprises the AI caucus and who they take direction from, I came across Seed Incorporated. Seed Incorporated has its own board of directors, and of course you've got people on there from different AI companies. There just seems to be so much bias and so much money changing hands that it's really hard to know who to trust anymore. Like I said in my previous videos, there's a lot of companies that don't want you to be able to do this kind of stuff because it takes away from their ability to make money from you later. And they're going to use more and more of these scare techniques until they get their way. And of course, politicians are going to do what politicians do. In other news, I came across a free book that was released by openart.ai. In terms of prompt generation, this book might be really helpful for some. It's very loud, but it's very straightforward and to the point and kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. Not as good as lexica.art in my opinion, but it's still a great place to start for some. And it looks like openart.ai might at least at some point be a Lexica alternative if we ever need something like that. In terms of sound generation, let's talk about Moobert. Moobert is making waves out there, making moves in the sound space. And you've got demos now on places like Hugging Face where you can add an image that turns it into sound. Very interesting how it all works. Now, sound versus art, I don't know why, I'm just not as impressed with the sound. It's very convenient, and obviously it's going to be useful for a lot of people. But it's not as impressive as generating art from scratch because music is kind of repetitive and mathematical and very easy to kind of assume how it goes together. It's just patterns. Nonetheless, people that are looking for royalty-free video stuff, if they're looking for something that they can play in the background of a stream without getting clapped by DMCA, there's a ton of reasons that you would want to use something like this. I'm just not a huge fan of selling it as a service. It looks like they're going to be charging a monthly fee for like $5.99 for something like this, and that's just not my favorite way of doing this when this could easily be done from home. One thing Stability did for all of us, I think, is show us how powerful these computers we own are. I think a lot of us would have underestimated the capabilities of modern day video graphics cards and things like that before we've seen what it can do in the world of art. So comparatively, the music thing just doesn't seem all that impressive, and I know that my computer could handle it. It's just a matter of you don't want to sell it to me that way. If the name Nitro Sock doesn't mean anything to you yet, maybe it should. This is a guy that's been distributing a bunch of Dream Booth based models for all kinds of different flavors of Stable Diffusion. I put up videos for the arcane diffusion, but he's also got models available that are a variety of different things, everywhere from modern Disney now to something like Archer. There's a lot of different styles that you can go through, but I highly recommend taking a look. I'm going to throw a link in the description below. NitroSock's doing big things out there, and he's not charging anyone for it. So, much appreciated, sir. And the last quick thing I wanted to cover today is going to be a really cool script, and you've seen something similar to this out there. You've seen these posters at places like Hot Topic or wherever. We're talking about a tile grid that creates a picture, and you want to probably make something like the Mona Lisa or Marilyn Monroe, something very common that people can see from a distance, but you can see how Stable Diffusion can now make this up out of smaller pictures that meet a prompt. So very cool idea, even cooler to see it come to fruition like this. And that's it for today. There's actually a number of topics I didn't get a chance to touch on, but I don't want to pack everything into one video, and I want to save some for later. I am very curious of what your thoughts are. I think right now the biggest news that we're all waiting for is what's going to happen in the political space. So of course, a lot of my attention is going to be kept over there, keeping an eye on everything that's going to be happening. If you want to be amongst the first to know, please join me in my Discord. That's where a lot of this information is before I get a chance to make a video about it. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate your time here with me today, and as always, thanks for watching.